Notches, how do you make them and what are they for? Hi everyone, I'm Glenda with SureFit Designs, and lots of you already know me as Glenda the Good Stitch. I get this question from my customers and they'll say, Glenda, you don't use very many notches and I don't know where to put them on my pattern. So let me show you. Notches are for the benefit of helping you to sew together one piece to the other where they match. Let's take a look at this sleeve pattern. This sleeve pattern has a notch right at the top of the cap. That means that that's going to sew when you put it all together and line up right on your shoulder seam, okay? Now, what about the notches in the armhole? Well, the SureFit Designs patterns do have notches. If we take a look at the back bodice here, you're going to see a double notch right there. And on the bodice front, we have a single notch. But then you wonder about placement. Well, a while back, I did some research on how to actually establish where the notch goes in the armhole. And it was a very complicated mathematical formula, not worth the effort. And what it all boiled down to was you basically take your armhole and divide it into thirds. A third, a third, and a third. So I thought, well, why don't we just do that visually? And I look at the armhole and I go, that's about a third, there's another third, and there is another third right there. So basically what I'm going to say is measure your armhole, divide it in 3, and bring a notch from the underarm up and make that a single notch because we're on the front of the pattern. Now, then you have to say, well, I need that same consistent notch on the front of the sleeve pattern, so let's just measure that. And that's approximately 2 inches. So I'll go over to the sleeve and I will measure up 2 inches and I will make a notch, just like that. What about the back of the pattern? Well, as I pointed out, we do have double notches there, and you're going to use a similar formula of a third, and a third. And let's say that's 2.5 inches up on the back armhole. So then we're going to come over to the sleeve pattern. I'm going to measure up 2.5 by standing the tape measure on edge. You can see what I'm doing there to measure a curve. I'll mark it at 2.5, and then I will make a double notch like that. So that's how easy it is to put the notches onto a sleeve pattern and onto your armhole patterns. Or let me say it this way, onto the armhole of your pattern. Now, what about if you want to join a long seam together, like the side of a pair of pants or maybe a long maxi dress, and you'd like to make sure that those seam lines line up? Well, again, take your pattern seam line that you've drawn, and then take a dominant place, like the waist point, and then measure down, maybe 8 inches on the side seam, and then make a notch on that skirt pattern. And if that's the front, do exactly the same thing with the pattern on the back. From the waistline, measure down, make a notch at 8 inches. That's how simple it is to make notches. But now let me talk about circumstances where I absolutely need to have a notch. No matter how long I've sewn, when I'm joining specific pieces to another piece, particularly when they're at an angle, that's when I need notches. So let's take a look at this top I have on the mannequin. There is a diagonal yoke right there and there. I've also done a diagonal line right here where I took the stripes in and I wanted my chevron or my stripes to chevron absolutely perfectly. So I needed to have notches there. And if we take a look at this sleeve, the black on the top of the sleeve starts right back up at the underarm, and then it rolls around the sleeve and comes out down near my forearm. Well, once I had drawn that design line on the sleeve pattern, before I cut it apart, I made sure that I put matching notches on it, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Let's take a look at the garment I have on this mannequin. Same thing. I've got a diagonal top to the bodice, and I've got a diagonal portion to the bottom of the top. And so I made my design lines, do those on the pattern, then I put on X's for matching notches before I cut the pattern apart. So let's take a look at that on the bodice now. I'm going to put a yoke line on the top of this bodice, and a yoke can be parallel, of course, to the shoulder line, or it could be at a slight angle like I've done on the sample over here. So I'm just going to put a design line going like this. Now I am going to cut apart on that line, but I need to make sure I can sew it together perfectly. So before I cut it apart, I'm going to make X's, and they will be my matching notches. Then what I'll do, once I've made my X's, is cut it apart. Then I'll take a strip of tracing vellum. I will lay that underneath, tape it in place, then I'll add my seam allowances, and then I will extend the matching notch out. Very similar that I did on the sleeve pattern here. So that is how easy it is to put matching notches on your pattern, and now you know why you need them. It's to help you join your pieces together. And I would also like to invite all of you to join our SureFit Designs community if you haven't already. Please go to surefitdesigns.com. When you do, there will be a pop-up. Put in your name, your email address, and your country. Hit submit, and that'll take you directly to the subscriptions gift page where there are 4 free gifts to get you started. And I'm sure a lot of you are in YouTube watching this video. Please make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You know we have over 350 videos on fitting, designing, and sewing, all for your benefit so that you end up with the best fitting pattern possible. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.